This is my real credit report now showing 100% on-time payments. Less than a year ago, I had several missed payments in my history. Learn to fix your credit in 5 minutes. Most of these steps I figured out on my own, so you're likely not going to find them anywhere else. We'll also be spending another 5 minutes going over how you can increase your credit score. Stay tuned. For those new to the channel, welcome to the Income Series, where we discuss all things about finance, business, and investing. I'm Brian Clark, living down here in Puerto Rico. I previously used to be a nurse anesthetist, a career that I left after I started several online businesses. Now I come onto YouTube to share how I achieved financial independence, the new ventures that I'm doing, and share with you all the things I'm learning along the way. I want to say a big thank you to all those who always tap that like button and share a comment down below. You know that we were doing this for more than just the YouTube algorithm. We're really trying to create a community of people helping each other. If you haven't already, turn that like button blue. Videos like these that bring original value take a lot of time to put together. Even if you don't plan on buying a house or taking out a loan soon, you should start working on your credit right now. Fixing or improving your credit score truly can result in free money. Whenever you take out a loan, your repayment interest almost always depends on your credit score. The better your credit score, the lower your interest rates and the more money that you save. If you plan on buying a home, this can literally save you tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not exaggerating. To put this in perspective, if you have good credit, you generally can get an interest rate of about 1.5% less than somebody with bad credit for a mortgage. On a 30-year mortgage for just a $200,000 home, this could result in a savings of up to $60,000. It's way more money than people realize. Now that you know the real benefit of having a good credit score, let's talk about what number is a good credit score that you should set as a goal. You can see from this chart, your credit score can range from 300 to 850. And there are 5 ranges within this set of numbers. 300 to 579 is considered very poor. Only 16% of Americans carry this as a credit score. 580 to 669 is considered fair, and only about 18% of Americans carry this as a credit score. 670 to 739 is considered good, and about 21% of Americans have this as a credit score. This is actually a common credit score for young people that haven't built up a lot of credit history but haven't made many mistakes. Now, 740 to 799 is considered very good, and about 25% of Americans have this as a credit score. This is the range that you really kind of want to get into if you want to get the very best interest rates on, say, home mortgages or being able to take out a large credit line. Now, a credit score of 800 to 850 is considered exceptional, and there's still a large portion of the population that have this as a credit score. It's 20%. You really don't need a credit score this high to get good interest rates from a bank, but it doesn't hurt. From this, you can see that 45% of Americans have a credit score over 740. Now, that's a great number, and it will get you a good interest rate, but I would say to set your goals a little bit higher than that at about 760. By looking at this chart of mortgage rates, it's safe to say that 760 seems to be the minimum score needed to be offered the best interest rate from most lenders. Now, if you don't know what your credit score is, you can receive free credit reports from the different bureaus. Also, free credit tracking services are often offered by credit card companies. Now, without further ado, let's get started on improving your credit. I'll be going over 6 categories that affect your personal credit score. I will be moving quickly through these, but I'm going to try and give you enough information so you can navigate the process of fixing it yourself. Stay to the end because each category is unique and requires a little bit of a different method. And if you want to reach that score of 760, you're really going to need to implement everything that I'm going to be talking about today. One of the biggest things to affect your credit score is on-time payments. This is decided by taking your on-time payments and dividing it by all of your payments. I didn't used to have perfect on-time payment history, but I figured out a way on my own to fix it. Now I have 100% on-time payment history. To be in the good category with on-time payment history, you need to have at least 98% of your payments on time. Now, we're all human, so over the years, it's very common to have a few late payments. This is nothing unusual. Life happens, and sometimes you just forget to make the payments even when you can. So let me go ahead and share the steps with you of how I removed all of the late payments in my credit history. First, go to Google and search for the TransUnion Dispute login. Click on Start Dispute. If you haven't made an account already, create one and go ahead and log in. The next step is you click on Start Request, and then you're going to agree and get started. Now go ahead and click Dispute next to the item that you want to dispute. Click No, then click It's inaccurate. Now here is the most important part. Click on the creditor agreed to change the account information. Now you should add something in the additional comments section. I've already written a sentence for you down in the description section below. If you want to copy and paste that, you're more than welcome to. But try and write a message similar to this. When I called, a representative kindly agreed to have this late payment removed from my account now that it has been paid in full, and I have since been on time with all my recent payments. And let me tell you why this works. Nobody likes to be told that they're lying or that they messed up. And so when a dispute comes to a lender, if they rightly submitted correct documentation about you having a late payment and you're saying they made a mistake, they have every motivation to verify that they submitted correct documentation. But most of these lenders aren't evil. They don't care to destroy your credit, especially if they already have a relationship with you and you're currently making on-time payments. Most lenders will approve the removal of late payment history if you've made on-time payments in the recent past and you've paid off that debt. So the next thing to affect your credit is how old is your oldest credit line. This is pretty simple to understand. Your longest held credit line is an indicator to your credit experience. Now you need to have a credit line for a minimum of 8 years to be in the good category. Now if you're just getting started and building up new credit, I'd recommend getting a credit card that doesn't have an annual fee. You don't want to be paying that annual fee for the rest of your life. My oldest credit card I rarely use because it doesn't provide me any rewards. But I do keep it around because it is my oldest line of credit. I know what you're thinking, Brian, I don't want to wait 8 years to have this portion of my credit score built up to the good category. But I do have a workaround for you that can be done in the right circumstances. If you know somebody with a healthy, long-standing credit line, you can be added as an authorized user. Once you do that, you can benefit from all of that past credit history. Now, this still comes with a word of caution. The primary account holder is still accountable for all of the payments on that credit card. The primary account user has to really trust you to not misuse that credit line. Also, a new account user has to trust the primary account holder that they're going to continue to pay that credit card on time. Now, if the primary account holder is hesitant to place you as an authorized user, consider being placed as an authorized user but not having any access to the credit cards or credit card numbers. Okay, so the next thing to affect your credit score is called credit used, or also known as the utilization rate. This is the percentage difference of all of your credit card balances divided by all of your credit card limits. So if you have a credit card with a $100,000 limit on it and you carry a balance of $25,000, your utilization rate is 25%. Now this should be an easy one to keep in the excellent category. Even if you don't have a high level of available credit, you just need to pay off your credit card twice a month to keep your balances low. The next thing to affect your credit is recent inquiries by lenders. This is the number of hard inquiries by lenders when they're making the decision to extend you a line of credit. Now, these inquiries stay on your credit report for 2 years, but experience says they only tend to affect your credit for a few months. Now, you can dispute these, and you can consider using a similar method that I told you earlier on in this video. Click on the creditor agreed to change the account information, and in the additional comments section, write something similar to this. When I called, a representative kindly agreed to have this inquiry removed from my credit report since I didn't realize it would be reported to the credit bureaus. If you ultimately didn't take out the loan with the lender might not even take the time to respond to this dispute. Remember, they have to send in evidence to the credit bureau in order for that inquiry to stay on your report. So the next thing to affect your credit is very similar to the previous one. It's when you have new accounts from new lenders. This is the number of total new accounts that you've accumulated over the last 2 years. Now, since opening new accounts can actually improve your credit score in other ways, most people don't even focus on this one. Now, the best thing that you can do to try and avoid accumulating too many of these consecutively is just try and spread out your purchases. Maybe try avoiding taking out a new mortgage, 2 new car loans, and co-signing for a student loan all in the span of a few months. People who usually need to be more mindful of this are maybe property investors. And in that instance, it's probably best to register a business and then take out these loans through the business itself. Now, one of the biggest things to affect your credit is the total available credit that lenders have offered you. As an example, if 2 lenders offered you 2 credit cards with a limit of $10,000 each, your total credit limit is $20,000. You only need a credit limit of $15,000 to be in the good category. Most people will need a minimum of a few credit cards if they want to reach that excellent category, which has a minimum of $50,000. The easiest way to improve this portion of your credit is to get some additional credit cards. Just do a little research to find out which credit card companies often offer higher credit limits. And I'll remind you again, first consider credit cards that have no annual fees. After you have a few credit cards with no annual fees, then maybe consider 1 or 2 credit cards that do have an annual fee that maybe offer a higher credit limit. Now that we've talked about repairing and improving your current credit score, let's talk about how your credit score is calculated and how each element is weighed. Not each element in your credit score has equal importance, so by us discussing this, you'll have an idea of which elements you should focus on. The biggest portion of your credit score is made up of your credit history. It makes up 35% of your credit score. It is absolutely the most important one to focus on and to keep clean in the long run. It doesn't take a lot of missed payments to really damage this portion of your credit, so it's always important to stay up to date on your payments. The next in level of importance is your utilization rate, or credit used. This makes up 30% of your credit score. As mentioned, this one is pretty easy to manage and you can fix very quickly. As soon as you pay off your balances for your existing credit cards, you'll see that this affects your credit score within just a couple weeks. The next in the level of importance for your credit score is the length of your credit history. This accounts for 15% of your credit score. As discussed, get a credit card without an annual fee and keep it open permanently. If you're wanting to improve the length of your credit history right away, you can do this by becoming an authorized user of someone else's older credit card. Now, one of the elements that we really haven't touched on yet that does impact your credit score is the types of credit used. This accounts for 10% of your credit score. It generally looks good to creditors to have a diversity of types of credit. Now, there are 3 types of credit. The first one is revolving credit. It's something you're familiar with. It's mostly used in the form of credit cards or home equity lines of credit. The second type of credit would be installment credit. This is another one that you'd be familiar with mortgages, car loans, and student loans. Now, the third type of credit is a little bit more rare. It's called open credit. Most borrowers will never have this type of credit line extended to them, but what it is you'll have a credit line extended to you and you'll need to repay the balance at the end of every single month. Now, finally, getting back to elements that make up your credit score, there's one last element that makes up about 10% of your credit score, and that's recent credit inquiries. Because adding lines of credit can actually improve your credit score in other ways, whenever you're thinking about having an inquiry made into your credit, you need to weigh the pros and cons of your circumstance. There's some consistent behavior that everybody should focus on when they're looking to improve their credit score. The first of these is you should pay off your credit card balance at the beginning of every single month. You may even want to consider paying off that balance a couple times a month. You'll also want to check your credit report every couple of months and make sure that there's no errors on it. If there are errors, go ahead and have them corrected. Next, you should keep an old credit card open, even if you're not using it very often. Stay organized, create a spreadsheet, and schedule when you're going to be making your payments on a monthly basis. One of the big ones is you should never over leverage yourself financially. And one of the easy things you can do is to request to have the credit card limit increased on your existing credit cards. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you haven't already, go ahead and click the like button. If you have any questions about your credit score, go ahead and put that in the comments section, and I promise I'll do my best to respond to you. You guys have a great day.